What would you do if you have started a successful business and you're now in your 70s and trying to decide what your next chapter might look like? Well, if you're Bill Wittland, you might go back to school to the Inspired Leadership Initiative. Bill is a former priest turned entrepreneur who was trying to decide how to best serve his clients and what he was going to do with his next chapter. Tune into today's episode as we find out more about Bill's journey. Hello, dreamers. Welcome to the Late Starters Club, giving you the inspiration, mindset, and tools you need to start something midlife and beyond. Remember, it's never too late to follow your dreams. Hey, late starters, it's your host, Andrea Vall, and I am here with Bill Wittland, a former priest who then had his journey into his own business and is now attending Notre Dame at the Inspired Leadership Initiative program. And we're here to kind of find out how he came to that point later in life. So, welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, great. And so we got connected through a mutual friend, Emily, who is at Notre Dame running the program, and I've known her for years when they lived here out in Colorado. And so it's really fun to get to know you. But it's kind of an interesting journey you've had 10 years as a priest, and then you decided to leave that phase and start something new. So I want to just spend a minute or two on like how that decision came about and what it was like to transition from, very different
Sure, sure.
vocations.
It was obviously a major life decision,
Mhm.
and one that I didn't make lightly, as you can imagine. But what had happened for me is that my my vocation as a priest had really been born of the post-Vatican II Catholic Church that had an aspiration to make a big difference in the world,
Mhm.
and what propelled me forward in my work as a priest. And unfortunately, after a number of years doing that, it just became clear to me that the institution was going in one direction and I was going in another.
Mhm.
And so I needed to make a change. I didn't have the educational background to necessarily do something. I had two master's degrees in theology, so
Right.
that doesn't exactly equip you to jump into another career.
Right.
But I was fortunate that I had done a lot of um, writing and conference speaking and things in my years as a priest. And there was a fellow at a marketing communications firm, Dennis Williams, at the time Williams Marketing Services, who said, "I think you could be a writer for us." And he took a chance on me, and it launched my career in business, and that
Mhm.
led to making client relationships, working for other agencies, becoming a partner in agencies, those kinds of things. And then about probably almost 16 years ago, I decided that the kind of work I like to do the most was the work that clients needed just from me, not
Mm.
from big teams of people at the agency. And
Mhm.
if you're a partner at an agency, you need to generate work for big teams of people. And
Right.
so I decided to leave the agency world and just work on my own without employees, without a safety net of any kind either. And
Right.
but I had a great, by that time in my career, I had a great network of clients. In those days, we called them Rolodexes because people had Rolodexes, but now it's your online network. But I had great connections with people, and I was able to create business opportunities and opportunities to help clients. And I've been doing that and
Mhm.
continue to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of those jumps, those leaps into that unknown must have been kind of scary going from, such a different vocation uh into an agency and then agency to self-employed. Those are scary leaps right there.
Yeah, they were. And but as you know, they only happen when you've got community of people around you who are supportive and that you believe will help you navigate the uncertainty and the fear of those kinds of things. And
Right.
it does feel at times like you're jumping off a diving board and you can't see how far down the water is. But
Right.
you know, uh,
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I'm glad you did not belly flop or anything like that to continue that analogy.
yeah.
Landed smoothly. So that's really awesome. And I love you had said in your kind of uh, background information about the, you know, at the core really being a writer. And I can see how that
Mhm.
can be the common thread between all of that. And I think some of this is about finding that common thread, which is really what where your talents lie. And writing sermons can be that similar to writing in other ways, right?
Oh, it's very true, and that's what I kind of got in touch with was that my ability to articulate things to either be creative or to be kind of structured and linear. I mean, there were
Hmm.
elements where I had to kind of summon both of those skill sets to be someone who could take a kind of disjointed mess of ideas and create a narrative thread that made sense for a sales presentation or
Yeah.
for any other kind of setting. And then there were times where you kind of had to abandon that linear left brain model and get creative and make some headlines
Uh-huh.
and find a hook for a message. And
Yeah.
so it was always that skill that kind of was at the core of what I could deliver to clients over the years. And it's what I continue to nurture now.
Mhm. That's awesome. That's awesome. So y so now let's talk about your decision to kind of, later in life, you've got your own business, it's going along great, you've got, clients in a, whatever, now we call it CRM, right? Or it's not Rolodex anymore, but you got
Mhm.
you've got clients that you work with. What what brought you to going back to a program and something kind of formal like Notre Dame's program?
A couple things. One is that when you're working on your own, you're faced with making all the decisions, and one of them is, how long do I do this?
Yeah.
Or how does this show end?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas where someone's employed someplace, those ending things are kind of crafted for you, or at least
Right.
in some conversation with you. I was left with the decision of how do I figure out how my career continues to go, tapers, doesn't taper, whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I did a lot of exploring. There's a lot of literature out there, a lot of
Mhm.
great books about this kind of next phase of your career and what do you
Mhm.
do after you've had a measure of success, after you've had um, volume of experiences. How do you wrap that up, or how do you do a
Mhm.
next thing? And I
Mhm.
mean, no, obviously that's something that your whole focus has been on a great deal. So I was facing that just on my own
Mhm.
and, the thing that goes along with that is I'm frighteningly addicted to learning, and
Yeah, you
so
got 2 masters. That's kinda
well,
crazy to my
but
book.
it's just, learning coming upon new ideas and probing and diving deeper and understanding implications and connections has always been a passion of mine, and
Mhm.
it feeds my soul, I think,
Mhm.
and then I heard about this program at Notre Dame, which initially I thought, well, that must be like a workshop or a couple week session or a
Yeah.
weekend program. And checked into it and found out, oh no, it's a academic calendar year. It's 2 semesters. It's live on campus. It's all that.
Yeah.
And um, I started to feel a little hesitant about that level of commitment, but at the same time, really drawn to this opportunity.
Mhm.
And the Inspired Leadership Initiative here at Notre Dame is an amazing program. And so the fact that they would extend a fellowship to me and give me this opportunity is just a incredibly fortunate turn for me. So that's how
Yeah.
the transition happened.
Yeah, yeah, that must have also been kind of a big thought process. Now, you didn't have to give up your current business. It's not like you had to, just kick all your clients to the curb, right? You are
No,
able to.
No, it's
Still.
true. I've continued to service a number of them as time allows,
Mhm.
and, I really do think that my participation here and the learning I'm doing now is ultimately gonna be a benefit to any other clients I have in the future. So,
Right.
I really didn't feel like I was gonna leave behind the the foundation that I set in place in my business, but I thought maybe there's a way this will even add to it, or,
Mhm.
um, I'm 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 not necessarily interested in stopping my work.
Mhm.
I
Right.
love what I do,
Yeah.
and I love to expand it or enhance it or shift it a little bit based on what I learn as part of the, Inspired Leadership Initiative.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love their kind of, focus of discover, discern, and design who you want to be, and and it looks like there's a huge variety of people. I mean, you're later in life, it's not like this is only for people who are in their 20s or anything like that. It sounds like there's a real variety of people in the program.
Yeah, in fact, it's not even for people in their 20s. It's
Yeah.
designed for people who are at this stage or maybe not quite as old as I am, but, we are the 4th cohort to experience the one-year program here, so it's relatively new, but there are 20 of us, and I expect next year's cohort might even be bigger. Um, the group originates from all over the world. There's a fellow who spent the last 30 years in Madagascar. There's a woman from Brazil who is a PhD dentist, medical doctor. There's a woman who spent an entire life teaching
Mhm.
and wants to do something new. There's a fellow who's a retired admiral from the Navy who ran the entire Navy healthcare operation for the Asian Pacific uh, segment of the Navy. It's
Mhm.
just an amazingly diverse, wonderful group of people that they've assembled,
Wow.
and probably ranging in age from mid to late 50s through a couple of us in our 70s.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That is so great. I love that because that's exactly what it's about, right? Continue learning, continue exploring, continue finding new ways to serve in whatever way that's going to be. Yeah.
right.
That's
And
right.
the beauty of the ILI is that it's a university-based program. So not only is our cohort, do we do things together, but we take classes at the university.
Mhm.
And so, the interaction with students in their normal academic environment.
Mm.
So I'm sitting in a classroom with, um, 18 to 22-year-olds,
Yeah.
and, understanding how they see the world.
Right.
And they're amazingly interested in how I see the world, which is a little scary. But they really appreciate the notion that there's someone at this stage of their career who wants to, be in the same environment they're in.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think that is what is important in changing the narrative around aging and how we approach our lives and how we realize that, no, it's not over at 60 or 65 or whatever retirement age people think it is. You can keep going and keep challenging yourself. So I think that's a great way that they've set that up to kind of
Mhm.
cross-pollinate the ages there. And
Right.
you have to live on campus.
Well, we live, or we make our housing arrangements, so we're not in dorms, but,
Okay.
the small place I've got is just a couple blocks off campus, so,
Right.
um and I really only live about 2 hours away from the university,
Okay.
so but when I drive here, I park my car and don't use it. I
Right.
walk to
Right.
in order to have the kind of campus experience, and,
Yeah.
um so it's a very rich experience, and the ILI program has weekly sessions for us, lunch and learns and evening dinners where they bring in a very diverse assortment of expertise from across the
Mm.
university, whether it's the president of the university who had lunch with us last week, to
Mhm.
the dean of the law school, to the head of the dean of the School of Science, and
Mhm.
those people come in and just share with us. Here's what we're working on. Here's how we see ourselves going forward as a university. Here's how we see ourselves serving the students of tomorrow. And
Neat.
so it's an amazing environment for me. Someone, like I said, who's pretty addicted to the opportunity to learn.
Yep.
It's, I've called it to some people. It's an opulence of opportunity. There's so much going on all the time.
Yeah, that's great. Now, have you gotten invited to any frat parties or anything like that?
Um, the students are too smart to do that. You know, they don't need someone their grandfathers are handing out
Yeah,
parties.
could be a little strange. So
But it is fun. A lot of our sessions and things happen within the student union buildings, and so it's great to be around the students and to
yeah.
be part of the campus community, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is so cool. That is so cool. And that's it's a big commitment in itself to, committing to spending that year. It's not like a remote learning opportunity. It's not like you're just, phoning it in or anything like that. You're really committed to that full experience. So I think that's pretty amazing.
It is, and each of us, depending on where we come from, does that in different ways.
Mhm.
There's some people here that have spouses with them. The program is great about it also inviting spouses to participate when they
Mm.
can, and so there's a lot of, versatility in the program to making that happen for people, but they're very intent on saying, "This is not a commuter experience. You
Mhm.
come and be here at least the hunk of the week, and if you wanna go home on weekends or something and you can pull that off, go ahead, but it's an immersion into the campus life." And,
Right?
um, I think I'd have to confess that when they said that, I thought, "Ah, that's kinda daunting. I don't know if
Yeah.
this stage of my life, do I really wanna do that?" And now having done it for multiple months, I can totally understand why they,
Mhm.
um, find that to be integral, and it's been integral for me too.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, you've had quite a varied career here. And what is something that you would go back and tell your younger self if you had that opportunity?
My younger self. I
Mm.
I think I would just, emphasize some of the things that the program here stands for, of having a growth mindset, being open to trying new things, um, find opportunities to learn. To me, those are the things that produced the most success for me in my life.
Mhm.
And I would say to my younger self, do as much of that as you can. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Don't don't allow your insecurities to inhibit you. Go after it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great advice. That is great advice. So you've got like what kinds of things are you hoping to to get from the program that you don't feel like you could get from, just doing things like reading or kind of attending a weekend
Yeah.
seminar or something like that? What's
That's a great question because there are online courses
Mhm.
that you could take through any major university,
Right.
sign up for and do them online. And if all you want is some information, and still the challenge of doing and completing that rests on each individual. I can't
Mhm.
tell you how many people I've talked to who said, "Well, I'm going to sign up for all kinds of Coursera things when I have time, and I'm going to do
Yeah.
all that stuff." And you know what? They don't do it.
Yeah.
And so being here and really immersing helps instigate really participating. And so and they encourage us as the leaders of the program encourage us to get outside your comfort zone. Don't take classes in things you already know.
Mhm.
Broaden your perspectives and your horizons and what you want to understand. For example, last semester, I've spent a ton of my business career around people like interior designers and architects and product design and industrial designers working on projects for corporate environments, and the workplace. And I was always jealous of their ability to sketch, to sit
Mm,
down and just take a piece of paper and say, "Well, here's what I mean, Andrea," and do a couple things. So I took a sketching class
mm,
last semester, and it was a wonderful experience. And just the
yeah.
notion that every day or every class session, I was going over to the School of Design and being taught how to render in perspective and those kinds of things
Mhm.
was just a delight to me.
Yeah.
Um, and I've also taken some classes on technology and artificial intelligence and issues that are really pertinent to doing business today. And so I don't think there's any question I'm going to come away from this experience with a whole treasure chest of insights and some skills and some new approaches to how I want to live my life.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Yeah, I've always been terrible at Pictionary, so I don't I don't even know if
Well,
people
you
even
can
play
get
that
better
anymore.
at it. I can
I
tell.
know, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
No, that's awesome because I think that those, it doesn't always have to be like something that directly applies and is perfectly aligned with, you know,
Mm.
everything you're doing. I think it's neat to get a bigger perspective and get outside of what you know and what you think you're gonna apply because you never know when it comes in handy.
We have in part of our cohort a woman who spent almost her entire career as a medical doctor and an anesthesiologist, um, who one of the courses she took last semester was oil painting,
Mhm.
and she just thrived at it.
Yeah.
And so it's that ability to kind of stretch what you're comfortable at or tap into some untapped, unmet needs that you've had all your life of those things where you've said to yourself, I wish someday I'd like to, and finish that sentence. And it's a chance to do some of that.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now, um, in in coming into this program, have you ever felt overwhelmed or and how did you kind of work through that? Have there been challenging times that you've
Oh,
had
no
to work through?
question. Going back to school at this advanced age, was no small thing, just mastering the technology that's used, and the new pedagogy. I mean,
Mm,
it's not the norm anymore for you to go into a classroom and just be talked at for 50 minutes or 75 minutes and then leave and do an
mhm,
assignment.
mhm,
Um, the pedagogical process is much more interactional,
mhm,
and that's been rich because it's been interactional with all these young students who, and I'm understandably spoiled to be at Notre Dame where I'm interacting with a pretty capable set of student body
mhm.
people. So they're
Yep.
wonderful to be around. And yet, so some of those things were challenges. And some of those challenges came from within because the ILI program, Inspired Leadership Initiative, has been clear about, we're technically auditing classes.
Mm,
So we're not getting graded. We
mhm,
don't always have to do the papers or projects or things. It's up to us to negotiate that with the professor. Um, and it's tempting to put your performance hat on that you've had on your whole life
mhm,
and want to just do everything. And sometimes you have to force yourself to sit back and say, I don't have to do that paper. I can
mhm,
just benefit from the class discussion and do the reading, and that'll be enough.
mhm,
Or other times you'll say to yourself, I want to do the paper because that's part of the learning process.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
and figuring all that out has been a bit of a challenge at times to say, how do I navigate this? Because it's not as simple as drop in and listen in classes. It's
right.
how do I create, and the professors at Notre Dame have been exceptional in their welcoming of these
Mhm.
kind of oddball students that they have in their classes. So it's been both a challenge and an incredible privilege.
Neat. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think I can see where that would happen. I'm kind of a type A person, even though I appear relaxed, but I'm kind of competitive. So I think I'd get in there and try and I'd be pulling all-nighters. I don't know. I
Yeah. No, it's I mentioned the sketching class, and, I would find myself looking over at the student's work next to me and thinking, "Oh, no, mine's just not gonna measure up to this. I'm looking at this looks like a stick figure here," and, so it's hard to kind of keep that in check a bit.
Yeah. 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 That's great. What a great opportunity, and I'm so glad that they have a program like this out there because I think it's important. I know I talked to someone who went took his PhD at age 70, and it's important to have places where I think we feel comfortable, we feel welcome, where we feel like we fit in, and I think it's good for all parties who are younger,
Mm,
younger generation to see and you to connect with the younger generation, and that's awesome. So
yeah. The University
that
of Notre Dame is really committed to this. There are a few. Stanford has a program similar. Harvard has one. So some of the elite colleges, but one of the founders of our program is actually on a part of a consortium now of other universities that are saying, "Boy, this seems to be an integral element that we don't
mm,
just educate 18 to 22-year-olds or 18 to 26-year-olds, but that we have a broad base of people that are participating in the educational process. And there are
mhm.
now 9 schools in this consortium. I think that was the last count I heard,
Oh,
that are members of this group, say, just sharing insights about how they're designing their programs and who's participating and how they want to take them forward. And certainly we've experienced here that the leadership at Notre Dame is very supportive of the ILI as an important and integral element of campus life. And
yeah.
we're thrilled to be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, for those of you listening in, we'll definitely have links in the show notes here to the program so you can learn more about it and see. And who knows, maybe it's time to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life. What was it? Oh, yeah, just discover, discern, and decide who you want to be, right at this stage of life. So that is awesome. And Bill, one of the things I love to ask my guests is for a quote or an inspirational saying or something that inspires you and keeps you going.
I'm actually going to draw on something I think that came out of my own mouth without any planning. I was
Mhm.
on a panel discussion with a group of seniors about to graduate from a design school, and there were a number of us on the panel, and we had a nice lively interaction with the students. And the moderator at the close of the panel said, "I'm going to ask for one sentence from each panel member." They had not prepped us on this and said, "Gonna ask for one sentence. You go first, Bill." And I was like stunned. I had no preparation for that and didn't know what I should do. And I said, "Hang around smart people." And it no more than escaped my lips. And I thought, boy, that's really good advice. I should take that. I've been taking that my whole life. And what an amazing thing to share with these seniors. And I had absolutely no preparation to deliver that message, but it's one I've never forgotten.
Mhm.
And again, sometimes I'm sure you've had the experience where
Mhm.
something comes out of your mouth that you find fundamentally true, and you really didn't know you were going to say it.
Yep.
And that's what it was for me. And I keep returning to that
Mm.
because I've been so fortunate to be around amazing, intelligent, thoughtful, genuine people. And
Mhm.
those people have made all the difference in the world in my life.
Mm.
And it's made me who I am. And so that's about the most wisdom I can summon, I'm afraid, Andrea.
That is perfect. I love that. I think everyone should have that on their wall because it is so true. It really, it kind of lifts everyone up to be around that curious, smart people who are out there doing things. So,
Right.
and it's I'm so glad that we got the chance to talk, and you can inspire our listeners with your journey and everything you've done and are continuing to do. And so keep keep hanging around those smart people, everyone.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's a great strategy, and I'm so grateful to Notre Dame and for the IOI for the chance to, because that's really what this opportunity has been about at the
Yep.
core. It's been just hanging around great people.
Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you, Bill. And we'll have links to the program in our show notes. But everyone, thanks for listening in. And thank you, Bill.
You're welcome, Andrea. Thanks for the
Mm.
chance to talk.
Hope that was helpful, and make sure you grab the free guide, Top Tools for Late Starters, on the website at latestartersclub.com. And let's turn dreaming into doing.